the biggest entrepreneur platform on the planet. This is Business Rockstars.
Welcome back to Business Rockstars. I'm Brittany Whitney, and my guests today are Erik Huberman, Josh Richards, and Griffin Johnson. Guys, thanks for joining us today.
So Josh, Griffin, and Erik, thanks for joining us today. Tell our audience a little bit about each of you and kind of how you got to where you are today.
Sure. Why don't we start down the Griffin, you want to start?
All right. Yeah. What's up, everyone? My name is Griffin Johnson. Started, of course, on TikTok. Ended up meeting Josh and some of the guys. We started a group and went viral, as they call it. And along the way, we decided that Josh and I are going to go into business. We have a few of our own companies now. We have a fund. And along the way, we met Erik, and it's kind of looped us in here. And now we're diving into the world of entrepreneurship. So that's pretty much a short term of my journey.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then for me, it started when I was 14. My sister put me in a video, ended up going viral in our town. It got 50 likes, nothing, but we were going crazy running around the house. So ever since then, really just started to leverage my social media following for the entrepreneurial side of things, and really focus on creating businesses, if that's co-founding Any Energy, or if that's joining Erik and Griffin with Hawke Z.
Yeah, and Erik Huberman here. Background, got out of college 2008, went into real estate a week before the whole entire world collapsed, basically, and started working on digital businesses, built a music company, built a couple subscription e-commerce fashion companies, sold them, started advising and consulting for a bunch of brands, hated the marketing world, decided to build my own little team to help companies actually get access to great marketing. It took off, we did really well, and so at this point, we've built a Hawke Media to about a little over 250 people, managed marketing for about 600 brands, met these guys and our other partners, Marshall and Michael, and realized, honestly, sitting at a dinner, that there was a huge synergy here with two of the best content creators out there for the Gen Z, and what we had built an infrastructure on marketing, and went, we should partner up. We were literally having dinner at their house at the time, and I think we had Craig's delivery. And, felt like a good idea. And to these guys' credit, we've looked at other partnerships and things in the past like this, and it's always just kind of fallen through because of lack of follow through, et cetera. We got it done. We started going, and I know we're going to talk about it, but signed Crocs immediately and got it launched. So it's been a fun ride so far.
Yeah, I'm super excited to dive into it. For those who are not familiar, first of all, what is Hawke Media? And then tell us what is Hawke Z and kind of what differentiates the two.
Yeah, so Hawke Media is basically, we go into brands, identify holes in their marketing org, and we can spin up different experts all month to month and a la carte. So could be Facebook marketing, email marketing, TikTok marketing, web design, production work, whatever the company needs. And we keep it super nimble and flexible. And the idea is to be the best at what we do, but really easy to work with. And so again, we manage about 600 brands marketing, been doing it almost 8 years. And really what we were missing was, we do have Gen Zers, I guess, on our staff and everything, but we really wanted, again, going back to it, two of the best content creators out there and guys that have really figured out how to reach the generation and help facilitate that with an infrastructure that's already built to scale to then help brands reach that newer generation and the ones that are trying to target. So that's where Hawke Z was born, was seeing that it was just a hole in the market. Like, I still haven't spotted another Gen Z agency. Like, there's a few types I've seen, a 19 or 20-year-old on their own trying to say that they can handle companies' Gen Z marketing. And there's a few of those that I think we all know. And then I've seen, big agencies saying they have a Gen Z department, but it doesn't really have anything that makes it that other than the label on it. And this felt like this is the right way to do it. We sit down, we talk, we strategize on the accounts that we're working on to make sure that, it's funny. I think not the other day, but a couple months ago, one of them called me dad. I'm 12 years older than them. So that was a funny one, but I do recognize that, I'm a millennial, center of millennial. I'm not a young millennial. I'm not an old millennial, right in the center. And there are differences in the way you communicate, the way you message between the generations and the upbringings that we had, and the difference in the world between our upbringings. And so having that insight with guys that really obviously know what they're talking about helped kick this off and be able to provide that.
Absolutely. And it's so smart. So you kind of touched on it, but tell us about your first client and kind of what that's been like. or what it was.
I mean, I got the shoes on right now.
There they are.
Yes, sir.
Crocs, baby.
Yeah, I mean, to Croc's credit, they've revitalized that brand in an incredible way. And just we actually talked, and to disclose this, when we were starting this, I said, hey, what brand do you guys want to work with? And they both said Crocs, like by far that is the number one, and happened to have a connection there, called them and said, hey, we're launching this. We want to work with you first. Can we make this happen? And again, another great business. To their credit, we dove into what that meant, but then they went, yeah, let's do it. Let's dive in. And so we're helping them with an influencer campaign and helping them figure out that, again, Gen Z angle as a first dive into really building out a whole new marketing arm for them. And it's been great. I mean, they're really good people. There's a reason they've kept such an innovative company, and and I've frankly gotten a lot of almost flack for, you look at their stock price and just skyrocket. I saw a meme specifically on Croc's stock price. It's like, well, yeah, because they somehow revitalized, and a decade later, after they were popular the first time, have just come back roaring back as a popular shoe. And we don't deserve a lot of the credit for that. We want to jump in and help perpetuate that momentum.
So who have your other clients been? I know you guys have a few.
Yeah, we're not allowed to disclose yet. So Rock specifically gave us permission, but we got a few that we're going to be able to announce shortly, because it's still the early days. We only launched this a little while ago. So soon enough, we'll have some other ones coming to market.
So how can brands better understand how to tell their stories in an authentic way to a younger audience? Because I think a lot of brands struggle with that.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I think the brands need to really be willing to be creative, right? A lot of the creators out there, there's a reason that they have that audience, right? It's because they speak to that audience. The audience listens to them. The audience understands what is true to that person's brand. And when a company is coming in and sometimes telling a certain creator exactly what to do, exactly what to say, exactly how to act, how to make their fans feel, it's going to come off as unauthentic. And today with Gen Z, they can smell that from a mile away. So it's not just throwing trends on a wall and seeing what sticks. It's really getting deeper into what is the true meaning behind your brand. What content creators out there have that niche that's going to respond to it. And you're not just throwing, like I said, these trends at a wall, or these ads at just any creator there is out there, and hoping, we'll get a viral video out of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this might be kind of a naive question. I'm a millennial. So what do you look for when you're marketing towards Gen Z versus millennials?
Or
honestly, is there a huge difference, or?
Yeah, there's a massive difference, which is the whole thesis behind this. I would say there's not like that. And that's the interesting thing, is I don't think it's like, here's the list of 10 bullet points you do differently between the two. And I think, listen, we're generalizing also like hundreds of millions of people in these generations. So, and I'm talking about just in the US, it's, outside you're talking about, a couple billion in each generation, or whatever that number would be. So can't just say this is millennial and just a Gen Z, but I will say that the nuances, and that's, a big part of why we partnered up, is like, we've marketed to millennials and Gen X and baby boomers just fine for 8 years. Gen Z, now that they're coming into spending power, I think the youngest Gen Z now, oldest Gen Z is 25. So you're starting to get real disposable income in that generation. Now brands are going to want to reach that, and you don't market to the same way. Like, a few things I've seen is you need to be more personalized. You need to be more authentic. You need to be more cause driven. These are things that still matter to millennials, but Gen Z, it's even more important. And those are only, again, just like you, I'm a millennial. So that's where they come in and are like, no, we can't say that. This is why, and those kind of things that come into play.
Got it. So we kind of talked about where this partnership formed. What are each of your roles within Hawke Z?
Yeah, basically, I'm basically still the CEO of Hawke Media, so to bring that infrastructure to it, and also helping with our team, including bringing in brands, et cetera. These guys are acting as basically creative directors. So once a brand's in, they're helping figure out what is the messaging, what is the branding, what are the things that we need to do. And there's three different ways of engaging in Hawke Z. One is just knowing that they're going to have their eyes on it and guide our team a little bit on the creative and things like that. But these guys are busy and continue to do more and more great things. And glad that we launched our partnership, I think either right before or after the partnership with Mark Wahlberg was announced. So we're in good company. And so they continue to do great things. Their time is sensitive. So it's either look at what we're doing, give a quick notes on like, hey, we should change this messaging. We should look at this. Part two is them actually doing creative direction. So if you want them to sit in meetings, really talk through it with the brand, help repositioning, that's a different level of engagement. Number three, this still does open up, sort of the endorsement side. Are they actually going and promoting it on their own stuff? And that's a whole different category of how we can engage.
Yeah, it's really lending our expertise, our reach, and skill set to make an impact for these brands.
Yeah,
absolutely, and it's super valuable. So Josh and Griffin, this question is for you. You guys are both not only entrepreneurs, but TikTok stars with a combined audience of over 50 million followers across your platforms. Kind of tell us about your journey and how you got to where you are today, because I know a lot of it is often glamorized, and I'm sure there was some blood, sweat, and tears behind the scenes of how you guys became so successful.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, first and foremost, a lot of my success has just been from dreaming big. And as much as that sounds, I guess maybe cliche, it's every single day when I'm either going and watching TV or chilling in my bed and I see something that I feel like I want that to be a part of my life. For example, this is a funny story, but we have an NBA agency. And I was sitting in my bed one night watching Ballers, one of my favorite TV shows. And I just started falling in love more and more with that agency space in the sports world. So I walked downstairs one day, I was talking to Michael and I was just like, hey man, why don't we just start an NBA agency? And he was like, let's do it. So a lot of these times it's really just like putting your efforts and grinding and hustling to what you're saying. Like a lot of people always speak about what they want to do, if that's going to act, if that's going to sing, if they want to be a pro sports player, but they don't put in the time. And it's truly putting in that time to go grind it out, put your head down and hustle hard for a few years so you can achieve all those big things that you're dreaming of.
See, for me, I guess it was a little bit more like simple. I was in college, I was in nursing school. And this kind of plays into how I've done, my whole career is at the time I was just posting like whatever I was doing for the day. I grew up super simple, and that's kind of like how I've kept things is I just stick to what I love and what comes natural, I guess. And, eventually it forces me to get outside of my box and, build things. And, went from nursing, and then I started doing social media. I became passionate about doing my social media, making content for people. And kind of what drove that is just my love in general for people. And, I was able to eventually do that on a bigger platform. And, it's just always been things that I like and passionate about, and just keeping it simple, one thing at a time for me. And, I just let my love for things kind of drive what I do.
Awesome. Did you ever think that you would go from nursing to being a content creator?
I didn't. I was literally just like, it would just be me and my scrubs going to class, just literally posting videos about my life. Along the way, I was like, wow, I guess I am doing this. Coming from a small town, there was never anyone, I guess, that's really got any kind of virality or fame. So it was very random. But I guess once again, that love for people, just entertaining them, I guess it kind of makes sense at the end of the day. That's kind of what kept me going.
Yeah, that's cool. So question for all three of you. You mentioned, keeping your head down, hustling, which is obviously easier said than done. Do you guys have any daily practices or hacks that you follow that you think kind of attributed to your success?
Yeah. This is going to sound weird and super simple, but it's just making my bed in the morning. It's the first task of the day. I think it's so important to get that out of the way, just because it makes you want to go on to the next task, right? Like when you wake up, you get out of bed, you take 10 minutes to get out of bed, you don't make it, you're walking away, you're being lazy right to start your day. That's what's going to carry on for you for the rest of that day. So for me, it's like you wake up, I make my bed, I've already completed something in my day, even though it's just such a simple task. I get to go and have a great day of completing more tasks. Even if it's a shitty day, at the end of the day, I'm coming home to my bed that's already made, right? So it's like, that's something that I think is so important, and a lot of people could actually use in their life.
What do you got, Griffin?
Wow. I can't say that I have any like daily things that I do like that. But I think the biggest like attribute, especially that I've learned, and I've kind of always been this way, is just try to stay calm. Like I don't know, like a lot of people, when they get nervous or they they're trying too hard. So I guess for me, it's like always just remember that things always work out, and that's something I do on a daily basis, and it helps me out in a lot of situations is knowing that things always work out. So I always have kind of like a mental note in my head when I start freaking out or I'm anxious or whatever. It's always like, calm down, it'll work out. That's like literally what I think in my head at least twice a day.
Good ones. So yeah, for me, I'd say the biggest like unique things that I've done that I like get called out. One is I have this app Captio, and I know you wanted to ask about an app. Literally, I just email myself and I use my email box as my to-do list. So I try to stay at 0 inbox, which means I'm responding to everyone, and I have my own stuff. Literally about half of my emails are from myself reminding me to do things. So I just punch through that stuff constantly. So when I have downtime, that's what I'm doing. And I don't mark it as read until I do it. So which drives me nuts because I built that habit that I actually, not like intense anxiety, but I get a slight anxiety when I have emails in there. So I'm like, I got to get this shit done. So that's been a big driver. And then two, I stay in touch with everyone I come across on a quarterly basis. I set reminders, I send emails, I check in on people. And that's just been huge over the years because as you build your network and meet more people, like I stay in touch, I stay in front of people, they stay in front of me. And it just means that as I meet one more person, they're added to that. And it just makes my network that much more powerful, which I know there's a lot of cliches about your network is your net worth, et cetera. But yeah, you can network all you want and meet people. If you don't stay in touch, it doesn't do anything.
No, of course.
Yeah.
Did any of you have a fear of failure? A lot of entrepreneurs, people who want to start, grow, or run their own business, kind of let that fear of failure get in the way of actually starting. What advice can you give someone who's just so afraid to fail that they won't start?
I mean, the biggest thing is that failing isn't necessarily bad. I mean, you're learning from your mistakes, right? If you can't, there's like, people always have that mindset of winning and losing, right? And you can't be losing if you're learning. So as long as you're going through your experiences and you go and have a company that fails, all those lessons that you learned from that company, there's so many amazing values you can pick up from that into your next thing, right? I mean, entrepreneurs, there's a lot of people that don't have their first great company until they're 35 years old or until like it's their third or fourth try. I mean, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that succeed their first time, and when they go around the second time, there's a big stigma around like second time successful entrepreneurs where it's like, oh, they've already done it, but they did it in their first try. So it's a little worrisome because they didn't have to learn any big lessons of failing. So I think that whole mindset of, oh no, I'm going to fail, so I can't even do it, is just one of the silliest things like in the world.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, kind of, what Josh is saying and pivoting off of that too is like, everything that you do, or like if you're thinking about starting something, it's because you love it or you have a passion for it. And I think that whenever you love something, people are scared to fail, but you don't realize your instincts to pivot and come out of things. So I guess it's more of an encouragement for anyone that's thinking and scared to fail. Is like and it kind of plays off like the second time entrepreneurs as well. Like whenever you're hungry and you really have no option but to succeed, people underestimate their power and abilities to get innovative and overcome things. And that's one thing I learned about myself was whenever you're hungry and your back is against the wall, you'll find a way. You always find a way.
Yeah, I also think failure, usually the fear of it's irrational because like, what is the worst that happens? You're back where you started. Like, I mean, betting the farm, probably not a good idea. Like, I don't know, the people that like literally put everything into an idea that has a lot of risk, I think is irrational too. But failure, and also the idea of failure, I think only happens if the story ends there. Like I've had projects and businesses fail. I've had great starts and false starts, but I don't look at it as a failure because it was like, yeah, as Josh was saying and Griffin, like I learned something, and it was enjoyed it. And it was a stepping stone to the next thing. And so it's when the story ends that it kind of rounds up, like, did you fail or not? And then also, I think setting expectations that are irrational of like what success looks like becomes a problem too. Like if you lived a fun life and enjoyed it and you get to that, you're in your 80s, 90s, 100s, whatever you're living to. And at that point, you can look back, then I think you might be able to judge your career. But if you're 25, 30, 35, and you have a failed business, I wouldn't call it failing. I would just say, okay, it's another stepping stone, another part of your long time story. And I think that irrational fear of like that being a big deal, whether it's reputational and embarrassment. And I think that is what drives a lot of it is embarrassment, and which I think people need to get over. Like, God forbid you failed, most of the people never tried.
Yeah, it's true. It's just like get out of your own way for sure.
Yeah.
Erik, you obviously specialize in marketing. What are some tips you can give startups on where they should kind of start their marketing initiatives if they're a brand new business?
My book goes on pre-sale next on the September, what is it, 30th? So number one, Hawke method, little plug. But no, we're, it's all the literally what the book's about, but we talk about there's three principles of marketing: awareness, nurturing, and trust. Awareness is what you're doing to gain awareness for your product or service, getting it out there, making sure people learn that you even exist. Nurturing is what you do after that awareness, because most people don't buy the first time they become aware of you. You need to nurture that. And then once they buy, you need to bring them back and have them purchasing more and more. That's super important too. And the last piece, trust, also known as brand, is what you do early on when you have no brand that people know of to get that third party trust. And then over time, your consistency and your delivery becomes your brand, is also a way to build trust. That's a really quick answer, but covering all three of those, awareness, nurturing, and trust, if you do those all three well, you're going to have if you have a good product, you'll be successful. But if you see something slipping and your product is being received well, I'd always recommend start with which category do you think you're weak in?
Right. What's your book called?
The Hawke Method.
The Hawke Method. Okay, awesome. Josh and Griffin, what advice do you have for someone who's trying to break into TikTok? You always hear, if you want to go viral on TikTok, post once a day. Is that true? Or what do you think your hot tips are?
Yeah, I think it's really understanding that a viral video isn't going to make an audience, right? It's the consistency that's going to be key. It's building that every single day. It's building off on other platforms as well. It's not just sticking to TikTok. If you want an audience that you can sell products to, if you want an audience that you can grow and cultivate and turn into a massive tool for your businesses, it's about doing more than just the hope I get one viral TikToker. What can cause some drama on the internet today so I get a few likes? You really do need to think long and hard about what you want that kind of niche sector in the entertainment space to be yours.
Yeah, no, that's a great answer, honestly. I would say there's different things. I randomly fell into it, so I didn't really get to do this, but I would say for someone that knows that they want to be on TikTok and they want to be, viral or famous or whatever it may be, I think there's two things. One, like Josh said, is consistency. That's the major key of social media. As long as you're consistent in posting, good content, you will eventually find a way. There'll be at least, that one video or whatever. And that kind of plays off. Number two is doing what you love. So, that's kind of what happened to me. I was just in nursing school doing what I love, and it just happened. And that's what happens for a lot of people, whether it's they actually just love entertaining or they love a certain niche thing, whether it's, fishing, whether it's marketing, business, whatever. It's just staying consistent, posting that content and doing what you love. I think that's the perfect formula to eventually find success.
Yeah, those are great tips. So where do you guys see Hawke Z in the next 5 years, and who is your big fish client that you want to go after?
Well, that's the fun thing. I think we started with it.
Yeah, we got lucky on that for sure.
Set the bar high.
Yeah, exactly. But my view, and I'm sure these guys have their own view too. I really think we've got the DNA to build the premier Gen Z agency. And 5 years from now, Gen Z is going to be probably the biggest purchasers in the country. And so as we build more knowledge, more sophistication around that generation and more data, we've got a whole data team on our end that's going to be backing this up too. I think we're going to be the go-to Gen Z agency, and we're just getting started. But we keep the phrase we keep using is the premier Gen Z agency. That's the goal. We want to be, if that's what you're trying to target, these older brands that are run by boomers and Gen X, really trying to figure out how to reach, I think there's a gap there. And I think that we're here to bridge that gap.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Where can people learn more about your agency? And if they want to learn about you guys personally, where can they learn about you?
So I think they're easy to find on social media. But for Hawke Z, it's just HAWKEZ.co.co. So HawkeZ.co, that's easy. Okay. And then, yeah.
Thanks to my amazing guests, Erik, Josh, and Griffin. Tune in next week for more amazing guests on Business Rockstars. We'll see you next week.